Morning, everybody. How you doing today? On this episode of the show, we're going to talk about how much money businesses are losing via email. So there's a few reports here in Canada over the last couple weeks about emails targeting businesses designed to commit fraud to get money out of these businesses. There was one in Saskatoon where they lost over $1 million. There was a recent warning sent out by the OPP here in Ontario saying that these types of scams are on the rise. And while it's talked about in terms of email fraud as a scam, what these articles are all describing, what these warnings are all describing is called business email compromise. And it's a social engineering attack. In this case, the cyber criminals are using their wordsmithing skills to send emails that appear to be coming from executives within companies, most often, in order to convince people to send money to the wrong accounts. So they're trying to impersonate people to fraudulently hijack legitimate business processes. Now, we see this scam in a few different variations. Sometimes it's CEO fraud or C-level fraud. Sometimes there's account fraud. There's lawyer impersonation. There's a few other variants on this, but all of them are the same at the end of the day. They are purely social, which is great. They're not trying to take advantage of a hole in your cybersecurity posture. But the challenge there is that means the defense is almost purely social. There's some technology out there, which is wonderful, that can help identify legitimate emails, not from a spam perspective, but from a content perspective, running it through machine learning models to know that, this is my writing style, and if somebody's not using my writing style, it's not me. That's great, but primarily the defense here is human process and human education. Because what ends up happening is the cyber criminal will do a whole bunch of research and figure out key people's names within the organization. Really simple with LinkedIn and some Googling around the company's domain name. And then they're going to basically go through and pitch something along the lines of, hey, it's Joe from vendor XYZ. I was talking to your CEO or your CFO about an outstanding invoice. I assume it just must have gotten lost. It's really urgent that it gets paid today. Can you then send it to this updated account information? Right? Or the flip side of that, where they will pretend to be the CEO and email you and say, hey, it's Mr. CEO or Mr. CFO. This is absolutely priority one urgent. I need this done immediately. The Joe's whatever vendor needs to be paid. We're behind on it. I don't care why, it just needs to go. They've updated their account number. Send, X amount of money, spend, $100,000 to this account immediately. And a lot of the time it actually works. Now that seems kind of crazy, but think about in a large organization. It's not uncommon for there to be urgencies and sort of out of process things that need to happen for legitimate business reasons. Especially when it's coming from up top to someone lower down on the in the chain. And sort of the secret here for the cyber criminals is to figure out where down on the chain does somebody have authority but is still sort of panicked enough by the higher ups putting pressure on them to circumvent their normal process. Because normally in most organizations there's a process for sending out money. Businesses are in business to make money, so they normally don't just send it out willy-nilly. But this social engineering attack is using things like name dropping, pressure, that there's an error somewhere that you're making up for, and they put on that social like, hey, this needs to get done right now. So you go outside of that normal process. And again, this is something that happens totally legitimately, so it's not necessarily raising a lot of questions. So how do you defend against this? Because it seems like it's just normal business spoofing, right? Well, besides using some technology like machine learning to make sure that if you're getting an email from me, it's actually me who's writing it, you can make sure that for exceptional processes, things that go outside of the normal process of business, that you institute just some basic safety checks. Now that sounds weird. You've already broken a process. Why are you adding a new process in? Well, the goal of going outside of the process is to make stuff happen quick. So the defense has to be fast, and this defense is very, very fast. If you get an email from anybody within the organization that's requesting money be sent out of process quickly, pick up the phone and call them. Get them on the phone, listen to their voice, and get it authorized. Or if you have to, get a text message from that person that you initiate to the known number. Now, I know text can be compromised, but In this scenario, because it's purely social engineering, it's a low likelihood that the cyber criminals have also compromised that person's mobile phone. It's possible, but it's a low likelihood. So if you can't get them on the phone to talk about it, then you can send them a text or some other basic thing, like walk down the hallway and knock on the door and say, "Hey, I need to do this. Can you verify that this is actually what you want?" Because the goal here is that you want to prevent the social engineering attack, but you also want to make sure that business in the normal course is getting done, and there can be circumstances where going out of process is totally legitimate for the business. It's hard to tell, but it is a scam that took in over $1 billion last year in the US alone. It's highly effective and it works because it preys on a whole bunch of concerns and pressure and stress that exist in every workplace. So remember, criminals are making over $1 billion a year with this simple social engineering scam. It's worth an extra phone call to make sure you don't get caught. Keep on your toes. I'll put some links in the description so that you can read up on this. There's been a lot of great research from my main employer, Trend Micro, around business email compromise. We've been monitoring it for the last few years. It's definitely something to be aware of, and it's great because you can provide some education as a security-minded professional, as a security professional, to your executives, to your finance teams, with really simple steps to help prevent this so that cyber criminals won't be making $1 billion plus out of this every year, which is insane. But it's the nature of business in the modern age. Let me know what you think. Hit me up online at markn.ca. For those of you on the vlogs, in the comments down below, and as always by email, me at markn.ca. Hope you're set up for a fantastic day, and we'll see you on the next episode of the show.